Hey everyone, welcome to the next Python tutorial. I kind of lied in the last video. In the last video I said we are going to get user input. There's actually something else I want to show you before we do that, but we will do user input maybe at the end of this video or the next video. But I decided I'm actually going to show you how to do the while loop before we do user input. So the last video we learned the if statement, which checks if two values are true or false. Or if two values when compared, if they equal true or false, do certain lines of code. So, and actually here, I'm gonna start working in a new file, an actual file instead of the Python shell. So we have our file here, so we can do if 2 is equal to 2, print this is equal. So run, yeah, we'll save it, desktop, test. Okay, so this is equal. So we wrote our code. If 2 equals 2, print this is equal, and that's what it printed out. So it works. Before we do the while loop, there's something I want to bring up. Right here we put if 2 is equal to 2, but you can also do less or greater than. You can do less than. You can do greater than or equal to, and you can do less than or equal to. So if 2 is less than or equal to 2, we'll go ahead and run that, and it's true. So if we do 2 is less than or equal to 1, we'll run that, and it's not true, so it doesn't print anything. If 2 is greater than or equal to 1, yeah, this should work. So this is equal. Even though it's not equal, that's just what I told it to print on the screen. So if 2 is greater than or equal to 1, run this line of code. I just so happen to put this is equal, even though they're not really equal. But it is greater than. So you can use equals, less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. There's a couple more that you can use that we'll get into later, but just learn those for right now. So that's the if statement. Then we have the while loop. Now the while loop looks like this. So we'll do while 1 equals 1, print test. So it looks like this. It looks real similar to the if statement. So it's checking to see if something is true or false, and if it's true, it goes into the block of code underneath the while loop and keeps running it. So you have while 1 equals 1, which this will be true because 1 does equal 1. So while this is true, print test. Now when I run this, it's gonna keep printing test because 1 will always equal 1, so it'll keep looping through. That's why it's called a while loop. While this is true, keep doing this. So I'm gonna run it, and as you can see, my screen's glitching out down here. It just keeps running it. I stopped it. By the way, too, if you ever have that happen, this is called an infinite loop, and it's really bad. You don't ever want your code to do it. It's actually what will usually cause like a window to say not responding because there's like a loop that it can never break out of. If you ever want to break out of it, if you press Control-C, it'll actually cause a keyboard interrupt and close your code out. So that's how I broke out of that. But this is how you would typically do a while loop. We would make a variable, and I'm going to call it just the letter I. And we're going to assign it 0. So we have a variable called I, and it is assigned the value of 0. And we'll do something like while I is less than 10, which it is, it's 0, so 0 is less than 10, so this is true. I want to print the value of I, so it's going to say is I less than 10? It is. So print to the screen what the value of I is. So it's going to print 0 because it equals 0. And then after it prints it to the screen, I'm going to do I plus equals 1. And this is something new I haven't shown you. So if I just want to add 1 to a variable, you could normally just do I equals I plus 1, which makes sense. We're going to assign whatever I currently is plus 1 to add 1 to it. But this is so common that they've made a shortcut to do it. So you would just do I plus equals 1. And that's just the shortcut way of saying add 1 to this value. So I plus equals 1. So what's going to happen is remember I equals 0. While 0 is less than 10, which is true, 0 is less than 10. Print I to the screen. So it's going to print a 0. And then it's going to add 1 to I. So I is now going to equal 1. Then it's going to go back up here. While 1 is less than 10, which is true, print I. So it's going to print a 1. And then it's going to add 1 to 1, which is now 2. And it's going to keep doing this until I equals 10. Because when I equals 10, it's going to be, is 10 less than 10? No. And then it's going to break out of the while loop and then go to the next line of code. So we'll do something like print the loop is finished. So this code should print the values 0 through 9, and then once it breaks out of the loop, it'll print the loop is finished. So let's run it. And that's exactly what happened. 0 through 9, and then the loop is finished. So that's the while loop. And you don't have to do less than, you can do equals, you can do greater than, you can do greater than equals, less than or equals. You can compare strings, booleans, all the same stuff you can do with the if statement you can do with the while loop. So in the next video, what we will probably do, we'll actually do some type of little number guessing game, which is a real common like beginner project to work on. And all you need to know is like an if statement, a while loop, and how to get user input. And you can make a lot of like text-based games with that. So we'll do something like that in the next video. You guys have a good one.